webcast. Please wait. All right, we are live. So it might take a minute to update.
Oh well. Hello, YouTube. Jay here alongside Christopher. All that nonsense. Plus, we're going to be doing a live take of an all-time team. Maybe a few of them if you got as much patience as we're going to try to have. We're going to be taking a look at the Washington Commanders here to start off with. It's been a while because we thought we were finished with these. We are going to be putting together an all-time team that's going to be 11 on the offense and defensive side each.
Yes, 11 on offense, 11 on defense.
1 quarterback, 2 running backs, 3 wide receivers, a tight end, and 4 from what we are going to call the alternate offense. That is any position on offense not included in the previous or included in the previous if they didn't make it originally.
Absolutely, and we're going to be doing the same on the defensive side with 2 defensive linemen, 3 linebackers, 4 defensive backs, and 2 alternate defense. That, once again, could be any position on the defensive side of the football.
Just out of curiosity, what side does kicker fall on?
Kicker is offense, punter is defense.
Oh, that might come into play here.
What? I got act surprised. Like, we haven't done this before. Oh, that's going in the edit.
We're gonna tier off these players. We're gonna mention all the players into consideration, tier them off into a bottom tier white. Those are players that are obviously worth mentioning it for an all-time Washington team, but not gonna make this team because we have players in a mid-tier that are going to be yellow and get a lot more consideration. And then our top tier maroon, which are, well, duh, no shit, these guys are in.
Yeah, absolutely. Like before,
Bob.
Absolutely. The first thing we do before we can start getting into the team is we name a face of the franchise. This is a guy that you just kind of associate with the Washington Monuments of Destruction, as we call it on our thing.
Oh, yeah, I completely forgot about that.
I did too until I looked at the
Oh, that's a much better name. Every now and then we get something right.
We do. It's rare. It's very rare.
The Washington Monuments of Destruction.
Damn. One of the tough things with naming the face of the franchise for the Monuments of Destruction is obviously their name change. So as far as Commanders is concerned, it's not really a face of the franchise. But for their previous names, we have a couple choices.
Yeah, we have the obvious ones of Art Monk and Darrell Green, who both have been treated really well and getting into the Hall of Fame, correct?
Oh, yeah. They didn't have to wait extraordinarily long times at all for no reason.
Yeah, some all-time greats in football there amongst their positions. We're talking easy top 10s, if not top 5 players in their position there. Neither one of them making this face of the franchise, though, because we have one guy, spoiler alert, you're going to hear his name a few times coming up here. Good old Sammy Baugh.
Sammy Baugh. What a career he had. Known mainly for his quarterback play, but as you're going to find out as you spoiled, we're going to talk about him a lot, and he's a very interesting guy.
Yeah, he made 6 Pro Bowls for all teams. He's in the Hall of Famer. From 1937 to 1952, this guy dominated. One of the, if not the, pioneer of the forward pass.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, the modern game came about really because of Sammy Baugh and the Washington team back then.
And this picture that we have of him, which I don't even know why I'm talking about it because we don't have graphics here for a live version. Surprise!
Don't worry, I'll edit it eventually.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe 8 months down the line.
It looks like the old SNL skit here, though.
It does. Hi!
What was it? Was it Pistol Pete where he took a gun out there and was shooting everybody?
I I think so. That sounds right.
I know that's what this picture looks like. But yeah, Sammy Baugh, our face of the franchise.
Easy choice, but will he be our quarterback? You know, in the past we have picked a face of franchise that wasn't necessarily on the team. I think it happened once. But let's talk about our quarterbacks. Where we'll be choosing from Sammy Ball, Kirk Cousins, Robert Griffin III, Sonny Jurgensen's, Billy Kilmer, Mark Rippon, Joe Theismann, and Dougie Williams.
Well, we already talked enough about Sammy Ball. Why don't you hit up old Kirk Cousins here?
Kirk Cousins and our next player, which you'll take, have a very interesting intertwined career. Kirk Cousins was a fifth-round pick in the same year they drafted Robert Griffin III, as a matter of fact. Played pretty decently. He's like the epitome of the average quarterback in the NFL, even to this day. If you have talent around him, your team's going to be good, but he is not going to bring your team up if your team is bad. He made a Pro Bowl in Washington. He really bet on himself. Really made a ton of money. Like, you gotta give the guy credit. Not a great quarterback. He's a bottom tier for me.
Yeah, bottom tier. I think the only reason he's on here, as far as name recognition for all time, fuck no. But his stats are solid, man.
Yeah, he's the epitome of average.
But then we're gonna be taking a little side road over to RG3. Fuck you, Washington, you fucking bastards. He was primed. RG3 was in a prime position to take over as my all-time favorite player in the NFL, Christopher. I don't think you really differ from that opinion much. We loved this guy. He played really well when they allowed him to play, and then they didn't oftentimes, and then they forced him to play when he shouldn't have been playing. They fucked his career. They fucked it bad. They fucked it hard. So while the Monuments of Destruction do not deserve RG3 on here, RG3 deserves to be on here. Here.
Absolutely. I agree with all your points. That's a shame. And a fun fact, he technically had a longer career than Andrew Luck, who went number 1 overall in the same draft year. Bet no one saw that coming. Next up is another old-timer in the Sammy Ball range. Well, he's actually a little later than Sammy Ball.
Sonny later.
Yeah. Sonny Jurgensen. Sonny Jurgensen, beer belly and all, played for 11 years, made 4 Pro Bowls, and Hall of Famer. One of 2 Hall of Fame quarterbacks the Commanders have, which is a bit strange. I would not have thought that. Numbers are really good for his era at all time for what he was. 179 touchdowns, 116 interceptions. He's on that top tier.
He is, and I'm sitting here looking over this right now. We have our own spoilers coming up for who's going to make the team, and I'm wondering if we made a mistake with who we went with for our starting QB. In 2 seasons less, more passing yards, more rushing yards, more touchdowns, fewer interceptions, but he played less, so you would hope fewer interceptions. But
it's true. But by quite a significant amount. But there we kind of had a running joke or theme in this, so I think that's why we picked what we picked. But we'll get to that later.
Somebody who's not going to be competing here with Jurgensen's and Ball, though, Billy Kilmer, from 71 to 78, did have a Pro Bowl. 7 years, 82 games played. I kind of forget why we even put him in here, bottom tier.
In fairness, he overlapped with Sonny Jurgensen for a couple of years, so he was the backup, took over for him. So a lot of those is actually in a 5-year stretch, and when you think about that way, they look a little bit better.
Well, when you think about it another way, he overlapped there, and he's going to overlap with another name that I'm going to talk about after you get with Mark Rippon.
Absolutely. Mark Rippon, Super Bowl champion, dominating the Buffalo Bills in Super Bowl 26, if I do believe. He played for 6 seasons. Washington during his period didn't really have a franchise quarterback for long periods of time, but Mark Rippon was really good during those for those few years. He has 2 Pro Bowls. Played 77 games, solid stats. With the Super Bowl title, we bumped him to the mid-tier.
Yeah, and that's just to create a separation of how good Jurgensen's and Ball was. Mark Rippon's one of the first names I think of with Washington. Fantastic player, but they have a lot of quarterbacks here in Washington. Next name is Joe Theismann, who is only going to get a mid-tier, so it's going to be hard to give Mark Rippon a top tier if Joe Theismann only gets a mid-tier. But Theismann is a mid-tier, so Billy Kilmer, playing backup to Theismann and Jurgensen. So what we do, feel bad for him and put him?
It's. I gotta admit, editing the videos and seeing some of the names I picked, I'm like, why did I do that? I could have saved myself a lot of time. And finally, we'll end with Doug Williams. Doug, if you look at his stats are terrible. Outside of yards is actually really good, but it's not about the stats with him. He had one really great year in Washington, and he became the first black quarterback to win a Super Bowl, winning also Super Bowl MVP, if I'm not mistaken. And you know what he meant? That really propelled a new era down the line of quarterbacks. That hey, black quarterbacks can play quarterback. They're smart enough, because he had all the bullshit stereotypes at one point.
Well, he's one of those where you look at, and, for the longest time, and I'm glad we don't have this anymore, but for the longest time, we had quarterbacks and we had black quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. And that drove me crazy. And one of the first ones here, Doug Williams, he wouldn't have been a black quarterback when we had quarterbacks and black quarterbacks. He was a much more of a pocket passer, and he did it really well. Big props to the man, mid-tier.
Absolutely. All right, we made it through our quarterback, Jay. Who did we select?
Who did we or should we have? We went with Sammy Ball, but man, I'm really like, what the fuck did we do here?
That is a very interesting point. I will defend the pick for a few different reasons. One is the face of the franchise. Two, pioneering and being one of the first to implement downfield passing, if not the forward pass in general. There is good reason to pick Sammy Ball over Sonny Jurgensen here. I think as a player, I think you can make a case Jurgensen's is better, but Sammy Ball was somebody when you talk about pioneering and evolving the game, it's hard not to pick Sammy Ball.
All right, sold. Sammy Ball, our quarterback. Jurgensen's going over into the all-open spot, though. Off to the running back positions, we are going to be looking over Terry Allen, Cliff Battles, who's apparently another quarterback here at the halfback position. Good old basketball playing Larry Brown, Ernest, Stephen Davis, Clinton Portas, and John Riggins.
Absolutely. You want me to go first or you go first?
I'll take Terry Allen. Played from 95 to 98. Not the longest tenure, but in those 4 years, 4,000 plus yards on the ground and just shy of 1,000 receiving. That is a total of 93 yards per game and 51 touchdowns. He was just a lot of fun to watch. But the tenure is going to kind of hold him back here a little bit to a mid-tier.
Yeah. Just for the sake of fairness, Jay, you were kind of a Washington fan back in the early days a lot because of two of the guys we mentioned that face franchise, Daryl Green and Art Monk.
Yeah, I think this was a little later. He came in when I wasn't watching them as much.
Yes.
I don't think I ever really stopped, but this wasn't like the heyday of being a Washington fan.
Mm.
But yeah, he was a lot of fun to watch. So.
Absolutely.
I don't know what point you were getting at and that I just kind of interrupted, but...
No, I think that was more or less like just to say that I guess that's something a point that I wish I would have made at the beginning, and it just came to my mind.
Well, there's another player later on that if we're going that route of like players that I got to watch and really liked. You're going to be coming up and talking about one here in a few minutes. So we're taking as much personal bias out of this as possible because,
Well, completely factual, not at all subjective.
yeah, it is. It is.
Do you hear that?
Subjective. This list would be a little bit different.
Exactly. By the way, do you hear that?
The alarm, yeah.
Is it pretty?
Yeah, fuck it.
It's every day, man. Every fucking day.
Dude, I had one going off that started up at like 12:30 at night, and it went for 45 minutes. I was ready to murder somebody.
Well, we're live on YouTube. Don't want to say that.
Right outside my window.
Yeah, I don't blame you. That shit pisses me off, man. All right, but back to our running backs. We're talking about Cliff Battles here. Super old-timey running back from the 30s. It's tough to, when we went through this before, it was really tough to judge these players where they were because they're old. And, if you don't have name recognition, it's really hard to tear these guys off.
You know who didn't have a lot of name recognition?
Cliff Battles.
Cliff Battles.
We did make him a mid-tier because he is a Hall of Famer. He had 3 first-team All-Pros. Pro Bowls weren't a thing back then, so he had no Pro Bowls. A decent amount of touchdowns. It is hard to, So we did give him a mid-tier for respect purposes.
Then we have Larry Brown here, who is always in favor of going for 2. Again,
Respect.
it makes a little bit more sense if we had graphics to go with it.
Yes. On the edited version, we will.
Here we just, fuck Larry Brown, I guess. 4 Pro Bowls, 2 first teams, 5,800 yards in 102 games, another 2,500 yards receiving, and that puts him at 85, 86 yards per game. So that is behind Perry Allen, but longer tenure, more Pro Bowls, some first teams. But he's not going to get a tier up on this argument here, mid-tier.
No, absolutely not. Next up, Cleveland legend Ernest Biner. Ernest Biner played for the Washington football team for a little while there. In the late 80s and early 90s. Won a Super Bowl with them. Played 99 games, had about 4,000 yards, 29 total TDs between receiving and running backs. He's probably on the low end of the mid-tier, but we gave him a mid-tier because it's Ernest Biner. He was really good. It's underrated back.
It's Ernest Biner. He's the one that I was talking about. Like, if we were going pure, if we weren't taking facts into this, if this were a subjective list, Ernest Biner would be on this team for sure.
Absolutely.
Stephen Davis, 2-time Pro Bowler from 96 to 2002. A good player. Not great. Bottom tier.
Yep. Next up, Clinton Portis, Pro Bowler. You look at his stats, honestly, it's pretty solid running back here. Pretty good running back. But he's more known for the infamous trade that they end up making, pretty much a 1-for-1 swap with Champ Bailey that they sent to Denver for Clinton Portis. Clinton was good, but he wasn't Champ Bailey good. Solid numbers here, but he almost averaged 100 yards per game. I feel like maybe we under-tiered him, but we're at bottom tier.
Yeah, I think maybe we just got tired of putting everybody out of mid-tier because 96 yards, 97 yards per game. Sorry, Clinton Portis.
Yeah. Oops.
And then our last name on here is Big John Riggins, who had one first team, no Pro Bowls, made the Hall of Fame. How do you not make a Pro Bowl and you still make the Hall of Fame here? 76 to 85 that he played. I mean, those aren't like non-Pro Bowl years, right? That was a thing, right?
Right. No. The Pro Bowl's around then.
Then what the fuck? John Riggins. This fullback here, not halfback. which is going to be different. And this wasn't back in like 50s fullback. We're talking early 80s fullback to where it was more traditional blocking type thing. It's Big John Riggins. He's a top tier.
And even if he was a running back, a true running back, his stats
Are good.
are really good.
Yeah.
It is surprising. Yeah, I think we made that mention on the first video we made. Rest in peace, old videos. He's really good. How did he miss Pro Bowls? It's unbelievable. But now we got through our running backs. Now we need to tier them off. Jay, we only have one top tier, which is
Already
John.
off.
What's that?
We already tiered them off.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said we're already tiered them off. We got one top tier here with John Riggins,
Yeah, he's up.
and now we had a bit of a battle, if you will, between four different players at the mid tier. Who did we end up selecting?
Well, it wasn't the battle didn't go to Cliff Battle.
No, it did not.
And I already spoiled it. Ernest Biner didn't make the factual list. Larry Brown, you want to go for 2, but fuck you. Terry Allen's going up.
Terry Allen's going up, which means our running back position ended up being John Riggins and Terry Allen.
So how much of a non-battle is this here for Cliff Battles? We're going to take over 2 mid-tiers into the Larry Brown and Ernest Biner. Cliff Battles, you can go fuck off. Hall of Famer not even making the Alpo discussion. Bitch.
Eat a dick. All right. And now we are headed off to the wide receiver position here. And we're going to be choosing from Gary Clark, Wayne Milner, Bobby Mitchell, Art Monk, Santana Moss, Ricky Sanders, and Huge Ass Taylor.
Gary Clark here is a 4-time Pro Bowler with the first team from 85 to 92. He averaged 72 yards per motherfucking game. This guy's insane. He's going to fall behind a couple Hall of Famers, though. So we end up putting him at a mid-tier. But come on, he's making this fucking team.
Yeah, absolutely. This guy was underrated value, but really, really good player. But speaking of Hall of Famers, Wayne Milner is a Hall of Famer from the old-time era, 36 to 41, and again in 45. There was the Warriors in between. I'm guessing that was from. Played 76 games. The stats aren't going to jump out. Yeah, it was his 30s, but, Hall of Famer, respect him. We gave him a mid-tier.
Bobby Mitchell from 62 to 68, another Hall of Famer here, 3 Pro Bowls. First team, averaged 66 yards per game, 49 touchdowns in 98 games. That Hall of Fame recognition. The era in which he got those yards was not an aired out era. Those are great for his time as a top tier.
Absolutely. And speaking of top tier, what we've mentioned them before, probably the most underrated wide receiver ever. Art Monk, Hall of Famer, took him many years to get in. This guy was an absolute beast for Washington for many years, winning 3 Super Bowl titles, over 12,000 receiving yards, almost 900 receptions in an era where that was almost unheard of. He's easiest top tier you'll ever have.
Yeah, playing at the same time as Gary Clark. Gary Clark was overshadowed his entire time in Washington with Art Monk, and he still put up 72 yards per game. Just go back and inflate Gary Clark a little bit more. But
Absolutely.
San Antonio Moss. He's fine. I got nothing bad to say about him. I don't have a lot of great to say about him either. Put up good stats. Bottom tier.
Ricky, certainly not Deion Sanders, playing again. The triplets of the late 80s and early 90s of Washington was absolutely insane. He also averaged 50 yards per game and had 36 touchdowns. No wonder they won Super Bowls with 3 fucking different QBs. But he's the weakest of the 3, and he got bumped down to a bottom tier.
So that would be 190 yards that the 3 of them averaged per game.
Yeah, which is pretty damn good, especially in the 80s and 90s.
Yeah. And then huge ass Taylor, 47 to 54, played 94 games, averaged 56 yards per game, 58 touchdowns. Again, in an era where you just didn't air it out much. Bobby Mitchell has a much easier case here over Hugh Taylor. So Hugh Taylor's going to take a bump down.
Absolutely, but I will point out that touchdown to reception ratio is incredible for Taylor. That's damn near if 1 out of every 4 catches with a touchdown. Respect. All right, now it's time to pick our wide receivers here again. We picked 3 of them. There's 2 top tiers: Art Monk and Bobby Mitchell.
Art Monk, no hesitation.
Not even a question. But we did have 3 mid tiers, and we had 2 Hall of Famers. So Jay, that means we probably picked a Hall of Famer, right?
Fuck no.
No, of course not. We already pretty much told you who made it. Gary Clark was our 3rd selection.
Guy was crazy good.
Absolutely.
Who are we going to take over into the alto out of this mess?
We are taking Huge Taylor, actually. Is the only one we'll be taking.
Are we giving another big old fuck you to a Hall of Famer?
We are giving a big old fuck you to a Hall of Famer.
All right, I like doing that.
Hey, sometimes when you have a lot of them, you can't take them all.
You got enough props in your career making a Hall of Fame that you didn't deserve. Fuck you. I'm not saying he didn't deserve it. I don't know, because I don't know him. Never seen him. Don't know the name. Fuck you.
Didn't even remember him for the first time we did this video. All right, but our wide receiver core ended up being Art Monk, Bobby Mitchell, and Gary Clark.
Okay, and then we're moving on to the tight end position. I'm done with it. Who are we looking at for Alto?
For Alt, real quick, we ended up taking Jerry Smith. It was a pretty weak core of tight ends.
Yeah, we looked at Chris Cooley, Jordan Reed, Jerry Smith. Please, somebody out there in the comments, let us know what worthy tight end we left off that we're just blanking on a name here. Somebody that's like, oh my God, how did we forget that? Obviously, he goes, there's none of these names I'm talking about. Not when it comes to all-time teams.
Yes. But speaking of all-time teams, not alt-time teams.
All-time offense.
We are in the Alt-O, and we're going to be choosing from Jeff Bostic, Turk Edwards, Russ Grimm, Len Haas, Joe Jacoby, Brian Mitchell, Curtis Samuels, George Stark, Trent Williams, Sonny Jurgensen, Larry Brown, Ernest Biner, and Huge Taylor.
All right, Jeff Bostic, big old boy, played from 80 to 93. That's a couple Super Bowl wins here, but only 1 Pro Bowl with that. So while he's a name that really sticks out for me, I'm going to have to knock him a bit down to a mid-tier.
Understandable. Next up is a Hall of Famer from the 30s, Turk Edwards. Good football name there. 1 Pro Bowl with 3 first-team All-Pros, 86 games in those 9 years. Again, they play a lot fewer games, so you got to keep that in mind. Hall of Famer, mid-tier.
Russ Grimm, mean some bitch. Why didn't Jeff Bostic get more? I don't know. Maybe they were tired of giving all of them to Russ Grimm, but 4 Pro Bowls, 3 first teams, Hall of Famer in 140 games here with the Monuments of Destruction. He's the top tier.
Absolutely. Next up is Len Haas with his 5 Pro Bowl appearances in the 60s and 70s from 64 to 1977. Nearly 200 games played, which is something you don't see very often. A very solid player. Not a big name recognition, so we gave him mid-tier.
Yeah, you don't reach that 200 plateau, fuck you, no top tier. Joe Jacoby, 4 Pro Bowls, 2 first teams from 81 to 93. What the hell was going on from 81 to 93? We got so many of them that played that kind of time frame here for Washington. Were they good then?
You would think so. I think they were. I believe during that period was 3 Super Bowl titles.
Damn. 4 Pro Bowls, 2 first teams for here, which is a first team fewer than Russ Grimm. We got to penalize you here some way. I mean, you are wearing 66, so I got to come up with something to only give you a mid-tier, and uh, your lack of a third first teamer is going to have to be that reason why.
Boom goes the dynamite. Next up, one of the best kick returners of all time, Brian Mitchell. Punt returners, I probably should say. He was just a great return man. Did play a little bit of offense, but he averaged 11 yards per return on punts with 7 TDs. Had almost 10,000 kick return yards, which is absolutely incredible. With a 22-point average and 2 more touchdowns. He could flip the field in a hurry, and he played throughout the 90s. Top tier.
Top tier?
We gave him top tier.
Punt returner? Holy shit. Chris Samuels. Just a fantastic player. 6 Pro Bowls. I don't know why we went mid-tier. I don't know why we did. Wait, is there a reason we did?
I think based on some names is the only thing, because we have some. But yeah, no, I really don't remember either.
Save him the embarrassment of not making the team from being a top tier.
Maybe?
Did we show him mercy by putting him at a mid tier?
That's what I'm going with.
All right.
Next up, George Stark. Played from 10 years, from 73 to 84, 156 games. They're just fortunate for me. There's no name recognition, so we end up having them bottom tier. Solid player.
Yeah. No. Low name recognition. No accolades. Sorry, bud. Trent Williams. Who the hell's Trent Williams?
Trent Williams is one of the best left tackles in the game, still to this day.
Are you serious?
Oh yeah, he's one of the best.
7 Pro Bowls though.
7 out of 9 years, and the 2 years he was injured.
Well, then what a bum. If he's going to be injured for 2 years, I'm not putting him above a top tier.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't put him above top tier, of course, but top tier for sure.
And then we've already talked about Jurgensen, Brown, Biner, and Huge Taylor in here. Are we going to switch around any of their rankings from their positional here in the Alto?
No, I think they're in fair spots.
I think they're tiered properly as well. So we need 4 players. We have 4 top tiers, making it very easy for us here. You wouldn't let me give him the starting QB spot, but I'm taking him here for the first spot in the Alto, Sonny Jurgensen.
Absolutely.
Jurgen, my Jurgen.
Jurgen, my Jurgen. I'm a little surprised at what we end up going with for the second spot now that we look back on it, but we end up going with the kick return, punt return, Brian Mitchell.
Yeah, it was a lot more exciting. He didn't end up injured for 2 years. Guy didn't even get a fucking picture up on here. His picture says selection 3. That's all you get is that third spot, Trent Williams. For consideration. That's it. Third.
Oh, when I edit this, I need to crop the selection 3 and use that as his picture. And finally, Russ Grimm is at the 4th spot. When Russ Grimm is at your 4th spot, that's a pretty solid alto.
Well, again, and not only that, Joe Jacoby didn't make it. Jeff Bostic didn't make it. I know we said Chris Samuels. We put him at mid-tier to save him the embarrassment. I would have taken Joe Jacoby over Chris Samuels.
Mm-hmm. Same. Yeah, this is, Washington was known for their offensive line, so it's not all that surprising that they were this good. Well, now they're not because Dan Snyder sucks. But he's selling the team probably, so congratulations, Commanders. And go fuck off, Dan Snyder. But anyway.
Our offensive lineup here, though, we have Sammy Baugh at quarterback, John Riggins and Terry Allen as your halfbacks, Sonny Jurgensen's backup QB, Jurgensen's and Ball thrown to Art Monk, Bobby Mitchell, Gary Clark, Brian Mitchell coming in here to flip the field, special teams, still catching the ball, doing it all. For some reason, we got a guy named Jerry Smith on the team. Trent Williams and Russ Grimm making for a great offensive line additions here. What are we looking at on the side starting off?
All right, we're starting off with the defensive line here, and we're going to be picking two of these next players: Gene Burrito, Dave Butts, Charles Mann, Dexter Manley, Bruce Smith, and Deron Talbert.
Why am I starting off here with Gene Brito? We put him at a bottom. What the fuck did we put him at a bottom tier for? Made 5 Pro Bowls, 3 first teams, just because we don't know the name Burrito, just because he looks like an idiot, just because he has no stats available. Is that why we put him at a bottom tier? Of course, that's why we put him at a bottom tier. Get the fuck out of here, you goofy looking.
Don't make me point. Don't make me point.
What are we?
I'm pointing.
What are we pointing to?
Well, the graphic up top is completely factual.
Oh,
we're using facts. And he has no facts, so therefore, no tier for you. Dave Butts, who I believe just recently, I want to make sure I have that right before I say that.
Just recently got Butts implants.
Yes, okay. Next up is Dave Butts, who recently passed away at time of his scoring just a couple weeks ago or a week ago. Was a really good defensive lineman for the Washington team. Made a Pro Bowl, made all first team All Pro. 59 sacks, shit ton of games, 200 plus games. Again, that's pretty good, mid tier.
Yeah, he's got some big names to follow, including Charles Mann with 4 Pro Bowls, 82 sacks, 800 tackles, 17 forced fumbles. Guy's all over the place, top tier.
Absolutely. And still being a little manly over here, another top tier player, Dexter Manley. Man, those two together was incredible for their 80s line. No wonder they won 3 Super Bowls in the era where they still had the fucking Niners and Giants and Bears. Oh my. 125 games, but 97 sacks during that period, and along with 2 picks, dude. This Dexter Manley, man, he's top tier all day. Only 1 Pro Bowl.
Mann and Manley. I'm going to save the drama here with Bruce Smith and Deron Talbert coming up. They're both bottom tiers, both on here for just to have some more names, I guess. One of them's named Bruce Smith.
Well, Bruce Smith's on here because it's fucking Bruce Smith, like the all-time sack leader, one of the best left defensive ends ever. Yeah, he deserves to be on.
Not during his time with the Monuments of Destruction, though.
No. 29 sacks still in those 4 years. Still pretty damn good.
It is, but we got Mann and Manley who put the monuments in Monuments of Destruction. They also put the destruction. This whole team was named after these two.
Toxic masculinity at its finest. Oh, man. Canceled, here we come. But yeah, so Manley and Mann are going up. The question is which one's going 1 and which one's going 2. I think that was a tough one for us.
This may have been an Adrian Acoin decision here because it doesn't really matter. We ended up putting Manley up at 1. If you guys like Mann better, I'm fine with that too.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm pretty comfortable with either man.
Or Manley.
So again, Dexter Manley at 1, Charles Mann at 2.
Linebacking core, Monte Coleman, London Fletcher, Chris Hamburger, Ken Harvey, Sam Huff, Ryan Kerrigan, and Neil Olkowitz.
Poor Neil.
And Neil.
We'll start off here with Monte Coleman from the 79 to 94, over 1,000 tackles, and probably more because they didn't go back that far. 49.5 sacks, 17 interceptions, 4 TDs, 215 games. The dude did everything.
Did you mention his 1,000 tackles?
I did. 1,000 plus tackles.
Oh, shit. That's a lot.
The dude was all over the place. Easy top tier.
Oh, easy top tier. Easier top tier is London Fletcher. 4 Pro Bowls from 2007 to 2013, 112 games, 956 tackles. That's half the games and just as many tackles as the guy we were just praising for having a lot of tackles.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, he's a top tier.
Absolutely. Chris Hamburger, Hall of Famer, another guy. We don't have tackle stats for him, but I'm sure he made a lot.
Well, he
you don't
made
have
at least one where he dropped a cowboy on his head.
We like that.
Straight on. He's pile driving the son bitch.
He absolutely is. Played for 14 years, had 19 picks at the linebacker spot, along with 45.5 sacks and 5 TDs. And more impressive is 9 Pro Bowls, 3 first-team All-Pros. The dude was a beast. Another fucking top tier.
Ken Harvey. He's a top tier, but I'm kind of tired of making everybody a top tier. That doesn't do us any fucking good here. Like, it's not going to make our job any easier, so we have to make a line somewhere. Ken Harvey, sorry, man, you're a mid-tier. Weird to say.
Well, speaking of that, Sam Huff, a Hall of Famer. The 10 years in there, 66 games in 6 years, 14 sacks, 12 interceptions, only 1 Pro Bowl. No more, I think, for another team that we did, but still was a really good player with Washington. We have a mid-tier. Gotta draw the line somewhere.
Is this another Bruce Smith situation? Did he come here late, or was this early in his career?
I think it was late in his career, but I want to be right.
Well, I want to be understanding of why Sam Huff is only getting the mid-tier, but Sam Huff's only getting a mid-tier.
Yes, it was the tail end of his career.
Yeah. So he Bruce Smithed it here in Washington.
He did. And we still gave him mid-tier.
Ryan Kerrigan. There's no way Ryan Kerrigan can compete with London Fletcher and Chris Hamburger. It can't happen. How do we take him one?
156 games played, almost 100 sacks, 95.5 sacks, 26 forced fumbles, three touchdowns, 4 Pro Bowls. I'm a little surprised we took him one, but I mean those stats hold up.
Like, we gave that much credit to the sacks. I mean, they're stupid. I mean, real stupid. So we may have overvalued the sack count.
Probably a little bit on this one.
And then last player's Neil. But I already said Ryan Kerrigan.
Fuck you, Neil.
I'm sorry. You heard all the other names. Sam Huff got a mid-tier. Neil.
Fair.
Go play shuffleboard or something. Yeah, so spoiled it there with Ryan Kerrigan's going up number 1. And I also pointed out, like, how did we take him number 1 over London Fletcher and Chris Hamburger? And I completely ignored Monty Coleman. Are we going to do that again?
Apparently we did.
All right.
Well, you know, we did what we did is what we did 10 months ago. Or a year, probably damn near. No, because I didn't think I had blonde hair when I did this video still, so.
Well, Monty Coleman, either way, we're going to move him over into Alt-D and ignore him again, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Poor Monty Coleman. Always ignored.
And then off to the defensive back position, my personal favorite. We have, we got a core here. We got Champ Bailey. We have Mike's ass. We have quarterback Sammy Baugh. We have Daryl Green, Ken Houston, Paul Krause, Joe Lavender, and Brig Owens.
Well, I will start it off here with our boy Champ Bailey. We talked about him before with the Clinton Portis came over, or got traded for Clinton Portis, when one probably the roughest trades of all time. But he was still a 4-time Pro Bowler at this point. He had just was amazing during this time. 18 picks in just 80 games. I know running backs was a lot more value in the early 2000s, but man, did they just bomb that. But he is a top tier.
Mike Bass in 98 games, just a few more, with 30 interceptions and 3 touchdowns. Just to let you know how great Champ Bailey was there. This guy who didn't play that many more games and doubled them up in interceptions, or 50% more interceptions. He's going to be a mid-tier, though.
Absolutely. Next up, is this a typo?
No, we got a quarterback over here. I think he threw it and then changed uniforms and intercepted it.
Yep, Sammy Ball, one of multiple positions he played. He played defensive back, mostly in the early part of his career, if I remember correctly. But you might be saying, oh, does he really belong here? 31 interceptions.
Yeah, he belongs.
Yeah. Top tier.
Yep. Darrell Green. He was up for face of the franchise. It's 7 Pro Bowls, a first-teamer, a long overdue Hall of Fame career, 1,200 tackles, 54 INTs. So maybe he was just a ball hawk and couldn't really hit hard. Like maybe he was a solid tackler. I mean, he had 12. Oh no, 33 forced fumbles on top of it too. What the fuck, dude? Darrell Green, top 3 all-time defensive back.
And
I used to say top 2 before we started doing these videos, and a new name popped up that I was like,
that's true.
What the fuck?
That's true. And that's the video I'm working on at the time of this recording. I want to mention, just because you just don't see this amount of games played ever, other than outside kicker. 295 games played, 20-year career. Outside of a Tom Brady, you just don't see that in skill positions.
Yeah. 295. Tackling machine. Hard hitting. Ball hawk. Like, he wasn't out there taking it easy.
No.
195 games. He was playing his ass off for 295 games.
Oh.
And, you know, the fastest player to ever play.
Yeah, so he had probably the best all-around corner in the game that's ever seen, because Deion was flashy and had the... Yeah, it's a hell of a discussion for another day. But speaking of great corners, but definitely a step below, Ken Houston. He had some fun with the Houston one. When we get to that one, I liked him more in Houston, but he still made 7 fucking Pro Bowls in Washington, a Hall of Famer, 24 interceptions. He's going to be a top tier as well.
Yeah, do we have any, like, people on this team that hold records for interceptions?
Yes, we do.
Huh. That must be Paul Krause, then.
That would be Paul Krause.
Yeah, from 64 to 67. In 66 games, he had 28 interceptions. That's a hell of a career there. He's a top tier.
Yeah, it's a good thing they got rid of him and let him go to Minnesota. Oops. Yeah, this was he played for Washington.
Champ Bailey.
Yeah, they really hate their good corners apparently. Yeah, he played for them in his first few years of his career. Then I don't remember if it was a trade or free. It wasn't free agency. They didn't really do that back then. But he went to Minnesota and then became legendary, but top tier. The coolest guy in the room, Joe Lavender.
Yeah, I don't know if you're saying that to make fun of him, but yeah. Oh yeah.
No. Playing almost 100 games, 99 to be exact. 29 picks in those games, 2 Pro Bowls. The problem for him is he's nowhere near the name recognition of our top tier guys, so he is a mid tier, but he's fucking cool.
And then we got another same problem here with Brig Owens. 36 interceptions from 66 to 77. And he's just fallen there with Mike Bass and Joe Lavender of being fucking fantastic, but we have too many Hall of Famers here.
It's true.
So if you're not a Hall of Famer, you're at a mid-tier, and on another team, you'd be a top tier. Sorry.
It's true. But you mentioned it. We have 5 top tiers, 5 Hall of Famers, but only 4 spots. Number 1
Harold
is
Green's taking
obvious.
it. This is Darryl Green. He's taking it.
At number 2, probably for this team, we probably could have made a case for the next 2, but really Paul Krause, interception all-time leader, big name recognition. Paul Krause did that too.
Yeah. And then Ken Houston coming in at 3 because that's 7 Pro Bowls and 2 first teamers, Hall of Fame career, 73 to 80. When it comes down to Houston or Champ Bailey for 3, I think it's tenure that takes it.
Yeah, and no fault to Champ Bailey because he got traded for after only 5 years, but Champ Bailey is at our 4th spot. I don't want to throw against this team.
No, because you know who just didn't make it? 31
Sammy
interception, Sammy Ball.
No 2-time for you, Sammy Ball.
Doesn't happen often, but we had a chance here to get the same player on the team twice. It's only happened like 2 other times. It's a real shame that Sammy Ball's not going to be making the team twice. Off to the Alt D, we are looking at Sammy Ball and Sammy Ball. Dave Butts and Monty Coleman. Do we really... A punter on here too?
We have a punter.
The punter Sammy Ball.
The punter Sammy Ball. That's right. Sammy Ball punted the ball. He was a defensive back. He did it all.
But surely he's just on here for a joke as a punter. He wasn't really good at it, was he?
No, he averaged 45.1 yards per punt.
Well, fucking hell.
Which is a pretty damn good average.
So if I'm remembering correctly, like if you look at the longest punts, if you look at the longest average punts over single seasons and over careers, Sammy Ball's at the fucking top of all of them.
Yeah, he's up there. I think few have been beaten over the last couple of years just because of how bigger the legs have gotten in the NFL. But yeah, he was always near the top.
And it wasn't like here he was edging out second place, bottomed out. Like this was the guy for everything.
And even if he was edging him out, the fact that he played 2 other positions and still was a good punter, is impressive.
So yeah, we're not fucking around here. We got Sammy Ball with his 31 interceptions, making it as a defensive back. We have Sammy Ball with its 45+ yard punt average. He's making none here. That's a Sammy Ball and Sammy Ball defensive lineup here in the
Absolutely. And now it's time to go back over our defensive lineup here. We got a very manly group of defensive linemen with Dexter Manley and Charles Mann. At linebacker, we have Ryan Kerrigan, London Fletcher, and Chris Hamburger. Defensive backs of Darryl Green, Paul Krause, Ken Houston, and Champ Bailey, along with Sammy Ball, the 5th corner, and him going out there to punt the ball and pin him deep.
Well, we already went through because, we were recording.
Yeah.
And we tiered all these teams. Where did we put Washington for best defensive team?
I don't remember. I'm actually going to see if I can find it now. I'm assuming that's under.
Did we just not keep track of that? Do we have to re-record?
No, we did. No, it's on there. I found it.
Here it is.
Pretty fucking low. Oh, that's the offense. Oh, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, we put him at number 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah, deserving of that. And you said the offense pretty low. They came in at above average.
Well, I saw that initially as a defense. I'm like, oh my god, we only put him there for defense. So I didn't realize that was the offensive point.
But this team that we just went over, the 10th best offense for an all-time team, the 2nd best defense. That's stupid. And as a team, they came in the 5th spot overall.
Absolutely.
So really damn good team here for having so many names in their career, being named the Redskins, being named the football team, being named Commanders, and having the correct name of the Monuments of Destruction. The Manlyments of Destruction.
Oh, man. All right. Well, that has been our reshoot here of the Washington Commanders all-time team. Christopher here with Jay. You know the drill. Until next time.
Deuces.
Deuces.